Welcome back to Eden TV, and we're looking at one of our many, I think we've got about 300 of these eastern water dragons, and at the moment they are our friends because they're eating all of the bugs around the place. But we're going to talk about strawberries, and soon they'll become a little bit of a problem. But let's go and talk strawberries. Okay. So strawberries are probably the simplest of the fruit to grow. Great fun for kids. There's all ages love a strawberry, and they just present so well. And it's really it's fun because you can actually see the transformation of the center of the flower into the fruit, ending up like that. So it's quite sort of educational how flowers become fruit, and they do lots of fun things like have babies with umbilical cords. So really are good fun, and they taste nice. Some tips with strawberries. They're a sort of a woodland plant from the northern hemisphere, and so they like a fair amount of sun, but they like to have a break during the day, like they would do amongst the trees, and they like good drainage. So if you're planting them in the garden, it's good to actually plant them in a bit of a hill. People often have a strawberry patch, and then you have these little hillocks, and then you sort of plant the plants within the hills, and that gives them some drainage. And the other thing that's really important with them is that and the reason they're called strawberries is because the fruit can be spoilt if it's just sitting on the ground. They are a little bit prone to fungal things if just left on the ground, and so traditionally they actually you'd put straw, I mean this is sugarcane mulch, but you'd actually rest the fruit or the splays of fruit on straw, so to sort of protect it from sitting on the wet ground. Okay, but they are such an easy plant to grow, and because they like to sort of loll a bit. They actually look really quite nice in hanging baskets, and they'll dangle down, and then they'll have their runners sort of hanging down. So they look beautiful, and when they've got that, you can imagine those full of red fruit just hanging down. It just looks absolutely beautiful. There are some absolutely lovely colours, so pinks, and I really like this is one called Toscana, which is it's got a fantastic red flower, and it's probably I found it to be really successful in the garden in terms of actually growing, doing a number of growing cycles and actually producing lots of fruit. So Toscana is definitely one to think about, because the reality with most of the strawberries is that they do make their little babies. You can see this one here, it's even starting its roots, but pretty much all strawberries get these aphid-borne sort of virus things, which it's not coronavirus. It's just it's a virus that just impacts the growth of the plant, and particularly the growth of the fruit. So essentially, when this little plant grows up, the fruit will be somewhat smaller than on the parent plant, and the offspring of this one, or the runners that come off this one, will be smaller again. So probably you let it go a couple of cycles. I found that the Toscana seems to go and be a bit better than there we go. Be a bit better than a number of the others. But there's lots of different varieties, and it's well worth having a go with all of them. Now, as I mentioned, as we with our opening shot, we saw the lizard. So the lizards are quite a feature. The eastern water dragons in Eden Gardens, we've probably got about 300. and they hibernate, and when they come out of hibernation, all they want to do is eat bugs and fight each other, and I guess breed, etc. But then when they start thinking about hibernating again, which is around Christmas time, they want to build up some fat stores, and then they start eating all the fruit. Okay, so if you've got lizards around your garden, you may want to try and put things in places where the lizards can't get to. Your other animal pest that you can get is some birds. So if you use a bit of net over the top of the thing, you can keep the birds off. But I'm finding these days the noisy miners who chase off all the other birds don't seem to like strawberries too much. So it's become less of a problem in recent times, certainly around here. But you need to think about that. And then the other thing to watch out for, particularly when they're getting quite ripe, is slugs and snails. And this is just a really nice iron-based slug and snail killer. It's not poisonous. It actually turns into a fertilizer. You don't have to put a lot on, but that will just help protect them, just at the end before you're about to eat them. Okay, and if you use a nice organic mix, if you're growing in pots, or improve the ground with some compost, cow manure, etc. If you're actually growing them in the ground rather than a pot, if you're using a pot, that's the one. And I'm just going to do a very, very quick demonstration of how just to plant these. So traditionally you see them in terracotta pots, and there's even the pots with the little holes so that you can have a number sort of hanging out of holes, and it looks very, very beautiful. But I'm just doing it in a regular pot at the moment, and probably in this size pot 2 or 3 will be quite nice, and I'll just put them towards the edge because I want them to kind of go over the sides. There we go. And this is, again, quite a nice little project. So I've got a couple of Toscanas in there, and then I'm going to do one of these Supremes, and that's a bigger, more upright strawberry, and it's good to sort of mix and match. Get sort of fruiting at slightly different times. Okay. I can hear the lizards circling, thinking about eating my strawberries in a few weeks' time. Okay, and I'm just going to. This is a bit unnecessary now, but I'm just giving you the idea of what this is going to look like. And I do actually quite like using lucerne and straw as well. And particularly as the fruits start to form and loll down, I would definitely make sure there's something that's sitting on a bed of straw. Okay. Now they do like a nice feed, so things like this. It's a really nice fertilizer with a bit of seaweed in there. They seem to respond very nicely to seaweed. And yeah, I would do that on probably a fortnightly basis. And you'll have some of these will produce, things with flowers on now will produce fruit quite soon. You can see that one's almost on the way, but that you'll have a long season, right up to Christmas and beyond. Very easy project planting this up, and great fun in the garden, and you're pretty much guaranteed of success as long as you can just sort of sensibly protect it. So very, very successful in a Sydney garden. All right, so see you next time. And we've got 20% off at the moment, so come in and enjoy.